how do we get better tomorrow together? But the fastest way for success is by slowing down and providing those micro coaching moments so that they can come to that answer. Because if you do that at the start, then the next 9 times, they're creating the solutions. They're coming up with the ideas.
What do you see as a difference between those who succeed the way they want versus those who are still struggling?
Humility, humbleness, vulnerability are superpowers. They're not weaknesses. But if you don't take a swing at all, it's hard to win.
Have that curious mindset, regardless of success, is actually the driver of true success.
Then getting out of their way and letting them thrive.
Welcome to Lead to Grow, the podcast that decodes how human success drives business performance with the people principle. Today, I'm very excited to have Them Lam from Australian Finance Group, more commonly known as AFG. He's joining me for this podcast. AFG is publicly listed and the largest mortgage aggregator in Australia, working with thousands of brokers across the country and playing a significant role in shaping the industry. Tem started with AFG 17 years ago and worked his way up through the business, developing first as a BDM, working closely with brokers, and over time moving into leadership. He's now head of sales and distribution, leading a large team across the country. Throughout that journey, he's had a front row seat to what makes people, teams, and businesses succeed in the broker industry. His role has always been about helping broker business owners build successful businesses, and he's done that in spades. In fact, countless leaders in the industry would point to Tem's guidance and influence as a key reason for their own success. In today's conversation, we're going to explore Tem's journey from his early influences growing up through to the transition from an individual contributor into leadership. We'll also talk about what he's seeing when it comes to performance, culture, and building strong teams across the broker businesses he works with. I've actually had a front row seat to Tem's journey myself. We met nearly 25 years ago at Asanda, which was part of ANZ at the time. So personally, I'm really excited to have this conversation today. But you have said that in the early days, how you brought up, the disciplines from your family has shaped you today. And I think that'll be useful for people to hear that.
You know, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here, but as a child, fleeing Vietnam on boat to come to Australia, it gave me a sense of gratitude that nothing can be taken for granted. I was fortunate enough that my parents ran their own business out of necessity because they couldn't get a job anywhere else. But what that also showed was that grit and determination. And when you are starting from scratch, every opportunity has to be taken. And that's held me in good stead throughout my whole career in life. And early on, maybe I didn't really recognize it, but it's ingrained in you, the daily grind and seeing it from morning through to night, and the sacrifices that my parents made has shaped who I am today. It is why I see grit and determination as a core trait when I'm looking for teammates and for people to come into our business to help accelerate what we're trying to do.
And so when you were a kid, you're saying that you didn't quite see what was going on, but then reflecting back on it now, it's like, okay, now I've got that in who I am.
Yeah.
And that comes through in terms of what you do. And what are those things? What are some of those things you do today that you're like, I've taken that from my childhood?
Yeah, no, good question. One of the earliest memories was my parents getting me to work and I started working when I was 5 years old. I thought it was a bit of a game back then until I realised I wasn't getting paid. When I realised I wasn't getting paid, it was a game rather than work.
Call that fair work.
Yeah, that's right. Even though the work was hard, there was always a sense of gratitude for the opportunities that we had. Coming from a war-torn country to a country of opportunity, every day for me is a blessing, and I take that gratitude throughout everything that I do. But with that, I also try and pay that forward in every interaction that I have in life. So I try to be as generous as I can. My wife often says to me, "What you can say no, right?" I said, "What's the fun in that? You have one shot at life, and for me, if I can help even elevate or add value to one human being, it's a win. And that's core to who I am. The resilience that you have to show every single day in that environment. And don't get me wrong, I see my childhood with great memories. Maybe not financially, but the fact that my parents were there every single day. The fact that my dad was able to drive us to school and bring us home every day is a blessing. The fact that they go to work before, during, and after it, was just the way of life. And I know that's not the reality for everyone, and everyone has their own upbringing, but that's just mine, and that's how I see life. Is there are days where you're stressed or there's a lot going on, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to be stressed and pushed and driven harder. And that's just that growth mindset that I have.
Yeah, it's funny those words you just said. Grateful for the opportunity to be stressed.
Yeah,
and it's amazing when you think about actually, why am I stressed? Why am I stressed? Well, because I've got this situation where I've got an opportunity to do something great, and so I think that's an amazing piece of wisdom there. So then if we fast forward to then your career at AFG, which started 17 years ago as a BDM, and you were an individual contributor, and then moved to leading people, and then leading leaders, then leading leaders who are leading leaders in a fairly rapid succession. What's that been like for you?
It was definitely a shift from being the on-field performer to then being the coach. It might be natural for some, and the best coaches are or leaders or were the best on field as well. For me, the shifted mindset from my success to our success wasn't the issue. I wanted us to succeed, but the way that I thought I needed to lead to get the result needed a lot of work earlier on. And I could tell you a few disaster stories, but it's not about the mistake. It's how you respond to that mistake and being vulnerable enough to be able to admit that mistake and having the humility to say, I got that wrong. How do we get better tomorrow together?
And so when you progress, I guess, through that journey, what were like some light bulb moments as you moved through the positions that you had and shifted from, I guess, your own success to our success?
Yep.
What were those moments?
The light bulb moment is an interesting one. It's like you're an overnight success, but the overnight success or the light bulb moments come with the daily reps. You set out with a goal to achieving something as a collective, and to achieve that, you need alignment and the team to come with you. And how do you inspire and create an environment of growth and opportunity for people to step into the next version of themselves? Hindsight is probably the light bulb moment. And for me, that came once I put in the reps, and it was, I'm going to do all these things myself. And the only way that we were going to grow was, I'm not going to do any of it anymore, but I'm going to give my teammates and my team the strategy, the guardrails, and also the learning and development, the coaching, and then getting out of their way and letting them thrive. And by doing that, it accelerated our growth. It built trust. It meant that you believe in me, which means that I bring my best self to work, and all those ingredients leads to that light bulb moment. And now I lead with that. I said, what are the things that are you doing today that was great in the last role, but in this role, how do you coach that rather than tell it?
Yeah. So and to try and reveal some of your secrets here, like what if someone's listening now and they're like, yeah, I'm going through that journey. What are some of those things that you're like, yeah, I developed that, or I adjusted that?
Are you asking a leading question because this is the stuff that you coach us on? It is about being curious and understanding the person that sits on the other side of the table, the way that they think, their natural behavioral tendencies, their personality type, and providing the framework and then asking them open questions for them to get to the answer themselves. So I think typically the fastest way to get to an answer is just by telling, but the fastest way for success is by slowing down and providing those micro coaching moments so that they can come to that answer, because you only need if you do that at the start, then the next 9 times you're not having to give direction anymore. They're creating the solutions. They're coming up with the ideas that then drive the business forward, because the success of any growing business is not the person at the top, is how have you enabled your squad to build that, because if you've got a squad of 10, it's better than you doing it yourself.
Yeah, I've seen you in action, and it's very impressive how you're able to shift to go from the fast pace to slowing down and asking those questions. And you are probably one of the most fast paced people I've ever met. I don't know how you respond to everyone so quickly. You get back to people, like if you haven't responded within like 2 seconds, I think like maybe he's dead or something. So like you are an absolute machine. So how do you then slow down and stop to be able to do that when you've got so many different things going on and your natural energy is going to be fast paced?
It's that definitely has been a learnt habit. I thought just having my natural style of, here's a problem, let's get going, let's keep moving, might work for me. But if you've got a squad of 6 different people, it's about matching their style, not for them to match yours. And once you realize that, and some people in your teams might be that fast pace, so you can keep them going that pace. But for those that need that moment, I'll make sure I give myself time in our weekly one-on-ones. And we do, operational one-on-ones, and then once a month we go off-site and take a breather, more for their learning and development. But having that 15 minutes before you get into that moment and being very present, and caring about that person's growth and development, like that's the key part of it, is do you actually care or not? And if you do, that trust builds, and the focus on each other in those micro moments, in those micro moments, means that they feel that their voice is heard, and that I believe in them. They believe in me also.
Yeah, amazing. So there's a couple of key things that stood out to me in your answer there. One is that you actually have to genuinely care. And this is one of those things in terms of with leadership, is that people are like, how do you make people feel like you care about them? You actually have to care about them, right? Yeah. So if you're faking it, it's not going to work. And the second thing from a tactical perspective is taking those moments to check in to those meetings. And I think so often we run from meeting to meeting to meeting that our mind is in the previous meeting when we're in this current one, whereas taking that moment to check in can be very powerful.
Oh, don't get me wrong. It's not. People say practice makes perfect. My motto is practice makes progress, because we're all human. We make mistakes, and I'll go into some and I'll walk away. But as soon as I realise I didn't bring my best self, I check in quite quickly to ensure that that's not a lingering thing for them or myself. And sometimes, I think the other person appreciates that, because if you show up the same way every day, not in terms of, you can't be bubbly all the time, then there's a predictability in it. And it means that, you're allowed to make mistakes. You're human. My thing with all of this stuff is, take a swing at everything. It's okay to make a mistake, but if you don't take a swing at all, it's hard to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've had the privilege of working with a number of your strategics from a people perspective, and we've found the journey really exciting and rewarding over the last, 10 years. For you though, you've been in the box seat for so many businesses. Can you talk to me about what's that been like, and what do you see as a difference between those who succeed the way they want versus those who are still struggling?
Yeah, it's a privilege being at AFG since 2009, and outside looking in, we're an aggregator, and aggregators are aggregators. We live our purpose, creating a fair financial future for all Australians, and at the heart of it is understanding that these humans are humans, and regardless of where they were before, they've decided that they've chosen us as a business partner to grow the business. And whether they start at zero or they start at 100 million or 500 million, we want them to know that we're here for the long haul. And then the traits of it, I mean, first and foremost, if you're starting your own business, you're an entrepreneur. You want to do something different. You want to move away from getting paid a salary. And we're cognizant of that. The common traits I see of those most successful, they all have it, but those ones that really, like they just act and look and feel different, is having that inquisitive and growth mindset, having the humility to know that they don't know everything or a lot. They're obviously talented and they're smart, but that's not at the crux of it. It's that they also show up every day. It's because they've got that hunger, that grit, that determination. I don't think you can be successful. You start from being a broker, and then all of a sudden, as you grow, you said, wow, I need that first employee. And then all of a sudden I've got 10. How am I going to do this? So one of the things we do through our partnership is to identify those needs, and then bring in business partners like yourself at Inject to help them frame a people strategy, a HR strategy, learning and development, leadership coaching. But the traits of the best in the business in any walks of life is those fundamental mindset that I want to get better every day, and there's just a drive in them that you can see, and it's a privilege every day to watch them. I still have my some of my favorite moments though is still to sit with the one that's starting today, and I'll make the offer out to anyone that I see that says, if you ever need a 30-minute chat for some insights, my door's always open, because coming back to what I was saying earlier, it's a blessing to be sitting here. It's a blessing to be afforded the opportunities that I have. So being able to pay it forward and generally caring about how people can thrive in business and in life is very important to me.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. I'm glad you said that about the growth mindset of those who are successful, because it's very easy for business owners to, hear from other business owners who might posture and brag and talk about how everything's perfect in their business, and often they can feel like, oh, maybe I'm inferior, or maybe I'm not doing a great job. Whereas actually, what you're saying is the trait to be humble and still have that curious mindset regardless of success is actually the driver of true success.
Yep. Humility, humbleness, vulnerability are superpowers. They're not weaknesses. And I look for those traits in people, and we get to work with some amazing people, and inside our organisation and our business partners, we've got more than 4,200 brokers around Australia. I'd love to be able to speak to all of them. I love voice of customer because
you probably could get there.
Yeah, probably. It informs us on how we can then support their growth, because the world is changing fast. Technology is moving quickly. How do we provide our brokers with the best business advice and insights to help them thrive?
And one other thing before we finish up that I wanted to ask, because You've got a program where you're investing in brokers now, so taking it to that next level. Do you mind talking a bit about that one?
Yeah, the broker investments program. We started as an aggregator 32 years ago, and in the 2000s added a lending business. But over the last several years, starting to really accelerate the way we're thinking about the broker life. They're humans, we're humans. They're supporting hundreds of thousands of Australians to buy their first home or buy their dream home or build wealth through property investment or the small business. But we have also identified through their voice is that once they move through our structured program on how we support core broker, innovator broker, and strategic broker, well, what's next? So we built this program where we take minority investments in groups, of which we have 5 now inside and outside of AFG, because as a growing business, you might also need capital to invest in new technology, new premises, more people, more talented people, more solutions through people, more solutions in operational matters, and that's how you build a thriving business. So it's moving from broker to business owner, and the next phase of our pathways is naturally, can we our success is our broker success. Can we, by investing in the founder or the owner with a minority stake, provide that capital, but also that guidance and those insights to set them apart from the crowd. We've got some lofty ambitions on where we want to be in 2030, but it's all driven by our broker group's success, and we just think it's a natural progression of how we've served our members to this date, and we look forward to seeing where this particular program takes us, because I think it's a worthy one, and those that where we have invested in already have commented that that it has definitely changed the game for them as well.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I see what you're continually doing is looking at what is it they need as a business, as a human being. How do you adapt for that particular broker, and how do you systemize it? And so this investment program being that next level of it, beyond all the technology, beyond all the people, beyond all the rest of the advice, another way that you're actually showing that you are truly committed to them.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much for coming. It's been a great pleasure having you here. I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, and I'm sure today's insights that you've given on your leadership journey have been very valuable for people listening.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks for having me.